Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon for those who are on the East Coast. This is it's the summer series from One Accord. One Accord is, if you're not familiar with the company, One Accord is a management consulting company operating in the Pacific Northwest and nationwide. And One Accord has a history of 25 plus years being in the market, helping small businesses increase their value. Um, uh, they have done more than 750 different engagements throughout 27 different states in the US. And one of the interesting things about One Accord is that 75% of the people that engage with One Accord, when they get asked the question, do you need help with the diagnostics that we have come up with and with the strategic plan that we have come up with, uh, 75% of the clients say, yes, sure, help me with it. So the engagement continues. They are very happy. That's a testament that they are very happy with what we do. My name is Huber Ostonix. I'm one of One Accord's Oasis coaches. And this is, as I said, part of our summer series. The events in these series are four different events as it stands right now. Today is the first one. We're going to have another one next week. So the Value to Freedom Blueprint today, we have Joel Calkins with us. Hi, Joel. How are you? Welcome to the call.
Hey, Huba.
And next week, we're going to do How to Spark Innovation with Andrew Ballard and build your future, even if you're too busy today, the following week on August 6th. All of them are at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So just follow the series so that you can attend these. There is another event being planned for September 10th in Doral, Florida, of all places, and that's an in-person event. It's a lunch and in-person event in Doral, Florida. So if you want more information about that, there's some information on that URL, Luck on Demand. So without further ado, I want to pass it on to Joel. Joel is one of our most qualified Oasis coaches. He has been about 20 years in business, working for large corporations, nonprofits. His last stint was at Alaska Airlines, if I'm not mistaken, for many years. And now he helps small businesses perform better by, through his coaching. So I'm going to pass it on to Joel. Thank you so much for being here and for this presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Huba. And thank you to all of you, most of all, for joining us today. As Huba said, my name is Joel Calkins, and I am a principal of One Accord. And also, as Huba said, I've had nearly 20 years of experience working with companies that range from maybe a million to 2 million in revenue, all the way up to billion plus. And my experience has been in helping them increase their revenue, profitability, find new market opportunities, and ultimately scale so they can actually execute and achieve that opportunity that they have found. And today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the value of your business and why it is probably, for a business owner, the most important asset that they have. And so we're going to talk through the Value to Freedom Blueprint. And as Huba said, we have a number in this series. This is the first of four. And we're going to talk about why is it important for any business owner to think about their business as an asset. And the reality is because it is probably the most valuable asset that they own. Many business owners go into business because they have an idea, they have a skill, and they want to pursue it. But in addition to that, they have dreams for themselves or for their family or for their community that they're hoping that they can achieve through their business. And what happens is, as they go about growing their business, they're neck deep into it, trying to make payroll, trying to improve profitability, trying to gain new customers. And often what happens is the sight of this business has value in and of itself goes away. When I talk with many business owners, their most concern is top line revenue. I need to grow more revenue. I need to get more clients. I need to get more customers. Often, once they've kind of hit that hurdle, then they might think about bottom or profitability, because the revenue is growing, but they seem to be making less and they can't figure out why. It's not until they're ready to leave the business, because they're ready to retire or maybe they're burnt out, that they think about, what is my business worth? And so when it comes to a business as an asset, something that you could liquidate and turn into something else, that only comes when they're thinking about retirement. Or maybe at the point where they're thinking, I want to pass something on to my family. I have a legacy that I think is important that I want to pass on to them. And so they want to figure out, how do I preserve that over a number of generations? In some cases, people are thinking about, there's more to me than just my business. What does that next chapter look like? All of those reasons are very good reasons to think about your business as an asset and something that you would want to grow the value of over time. But here's the truth. According to the Exit Planning Institute, 80% of business owners' assets are tied up in their business. They might have some other stocks or investments, maybe some real estate, but 80% of that is in the business itself. The downside for them is that of the 80% of assets that they own, that business is probably not going to sell, or at least not sell successfully. And what success means is you sold your business and you've gotten the value or the price that you were hoping to get out of it. In fact, only 30% of those businesses will actually go on to sell at or more than what the business owner was hoping to get from it. So why is that? According to Pepperdine, who publishes the Private Capital's Market Report every year, the issue normally is there's a valuation in pricing, or a gap in the valuation of pricing. And what that means is the business owner thinks or wants or needs more than what a buyer is willing to pay for that particular business. If they're looking to retire, they might have a dollar amount in mind. And it's not until they're ready to leave that they realize, no one's going to give me that much for my business. And they get stuck. Other reasons why someone may not want to buy it is the seller wants too much, the buyer wants too much, or maybe there's no market. But really what it comes down to is, finding a price that both the seller and the buyer are willing to pay. By and large, is the number of reasons why businesses don't close, and eventually that business owner is just going to have to close up shop and then move on. And as you get started, one of the things we promise is give you some tools and assessment to help you think about where your business is and what are some steps or actions that you can take to see if you can't grow that value of your business. And so One Accord has a tool that we use that helps you think about the organizational stages of development in 10 questions that you can answer probably within 10 to 15 minutes. They'll help you get a sense of where your business is in the development phase and what you can do to make it worth more. We'll bring this up again as we move on towards the end, but I just want to throw this out here. If you have a minute, you got a phone, make sure you click it. If not, don't worry about it. We'll come back to it again later. One thing that the owner can do that can improve their business value is to get themselves out of the owner's trap. Now, you might be wondering, what is the owner's trap? Well, the owner's trap can be a number of things, but predominantly there's 4 things that you can look at to understand if you are an owner in the owner's trap. If you are a business owner and you are the primary salesperson, you're the one closing deals, you're the ones finding new customers, you have all of the relationships with your customers, that is a sign that you are in the owner's trap. Perhaps you offer too many products or services. Often as businesses get started, typically you're trying to just make money and you're trying to get customers. So you're selling anything that anyone will buy. And then you continue on to that pace. Every time someone asks you, can you do X or do you do Y? You say, well, sure, because you don't want to turn down the business opportunity. The problem is that creates complexity, and that complexity is going to bite you down the road when you look to grow your business and when you look to sell it. Another sign of the owner's trap is that you interface with the customers. It's similar to being the primary salesperson. When people call, if there's an issue, they want you, the owner. They don't want to talk to your front desk. They don't want to talk to one of your employees. They need to talk to you, and you're responding as such. That puts you at the center of that. If I'm a buyer, I'm very cautious about buying from a company buying a company from an owner who is the face of the clients and the face of people who have issues or challenges down the line. The last one, and this is a big one, only you can deliver. Now, if you have any size to your company, you've probably resolved this. But if you're the only person that can do the job well or good enough, then you are in the owner's trap, because it is completely dependent on you as the owner to deliver the good or service that you sell. Now, if this is you and you fit one or more of these, here's probably some of the symptoms that you see. When you step away, things get slow. Issues don't get resolved, sales aren't being made, everything slows down when you're gone. People come to you first when there's an issue. And then finally, your revenue is going to plateau because only you can do the work. Only you can deliver sales. And so you, as an individual, can only do so much. You haven't scaled beyond yourself, so revenue is eventually going to top off. And if I'm a buyer looking at a business, I want to see consistent revenue growth over time. And if I see a plateau, I'm going to start to wonder, why is that? What's going on? So as we look at this, we've talked a little bit about buyers and sellers. Let's look at it through the seller's eyes for a bit. When you look at it through an acquirer's eyes, there's a couple things that you might want to think about. A buyer is going to want optionality. They're going to want to know, hey, can I run it? Can I operate it from a chairman perspective? Can I integrate it into something else? They're also going to be looking at resilience. Can this thing survive without you, the current owner? If I step in, is everything going to fall apart because the customers go away? The product quality goes down. Is this going to be resilient, or do I need to build it back up? And then finally, is there wealth to be attained here? Is this going to continue to grow, and is this something that I can get and grow my own value, my own net worth through the acquisition of this business? So things that are important to a buyer should be important to you as a seller, because what you're going to want to sell is something that they're going to want to buy. Now, we're not going to talk about all these today, but I'm going to give these to you. There are essentially 8 key drivers of business value. One is financial performance, which is how well are your finances? How clean are your books? Are you seeing good profit? How are you doing according in comparison to your peers in the industry? What's your potential for future growth? If I buy this, will it continue to grow? Is there options there? Switzerland structure, which is basically I'm not too dependent on any one customer or any one supplier. I've got resilience in my business model, so we can get beyond that. Valuation teeter-totter is really just cash flow. Do I have good cash flow? Can I weather the good times and the bad times? Do we have money coming in on a regular basis? Are we paying our bills in such a way that allows us to have money in the bank? Is there recurring revenue? The nice thing about recurring revenue is if you've acquired it, it just keeps coming automatically. You don't need to resell it every time. It drives not only profitability, but it provides predictability for any potential buyer when they're looking at a company, knowing that money's already coming in. They don't need to go get it again. Monopoly control. Are you differentiated in your business? What makes your model, your way of doing business more competitive or distinguished from your competitors? Is there something that you do or the way that you do it that is more of a value potentially to a customer than just the run-of-the-mill business that you do? 7 is satisfaction. If your customers are happy, it means they're going to come back. Not only are they going to come back, but they're also going to tell others about you. That shows good growth, good brand, and it gives a buyer confidence that what I'm buying is something that's of good quality. It's thought of well in the community or the region or wherever you operate. And then finally, the hub and spoke. Can this business function without you, the owner? If you were to step away for 3 months, what happens to the business? If I am a buyer looking to buy, I want to make sure that I can go on vacation, or I can maybe run my other businesses as I own this one as well. I want to make sure that the owner is not the operator, the one that's working all the time in the business. So they've solved for that. That makes it more valuable. If not, as me as a prospective buyer has to figure out how to fill that gap, either with myself or with somebody else that I trust. And finally, the ultimate freedom, even if you're not looking to buy, if you think of your business through the eyes of a prospective buyer, it gives you options. You can always sell it because it's sellable. People want it. People will come to you offering to buy it because they see the value in the business. You can also pass it down. Family members love to receive healthy businesses. They don't want a problem. They don't want to inherit a problem. And a number one reason why family businesses don't continue to grow is that they get fractured out because there's a lot of children or grandchildren, but also because those children and grandchildren don't want it. They've seen mom or they've seen dad struggle in the business, not take vacations, not show up for games, and they don't want that. So if it's a healthy business that's not dependent on you, that is far more attractive to leave to your children or grandchildren than a problem that they have to figure out. Third, you can scale it. It's bigger than you now. It can grow beyond you. It can take legs of its own, and that's a good thing. And then the fourth, it gives you the opportunity to be a chairperson. So many business owners I work with want this. They don't want to be in the business all the time. They want to be able to think strategically. They want to think about where it can go in the long term, let's say 10 years out, even 3 years out, but they don't want to be in the day-to-day operations. It changes your role in the company. You move from an owner operator to an executive. And that option to work in that way often gives them more stamina to stay with the business longer and to do more with the business. So for those that aren't ready to sell, they might be ready to move in terms of their role within the company itself. The next thing we're going to talk about is growth potential. This is an important one. If I'm looking at buying a business, I want to know it will continue to grow without the owner, and that even the market that it's in has capacity for me to continue to grow it. I don't want it to plateau as soon as I buy it. So I'm going to be thinking about that and looking for those signals as I look at a particular business. Same thing as if you're a business owner, you want to make sure that your business is set up to grow, not only for you, but for your employees and for your family and other people that are dependent on you. You want to make sure that you have a healthy business that can continue to grow. When we look at the ability to grow, we're often going to look at the industry itself. At One Accord, we do a lot of industry benchmarking. So we would look at your business and say, where are you sitting in light of your business, and what's the market look like? Once we have that pegged, that helps us understand what's the potential for additional growth as we go. Buyers will pay a premium if they know or they believe that this business is going to continue to grow. So you want a good growth story. You want to be able to show past history. You want to show how you're positioned for growth in the future. And as an owner, you want to be able to prove that those playbooks work without you. Again, you can step away, growth still happens, sales still happen, revenue continues to go up, profitability and margins continue to be healthy. You're showing that recurring and predictable revenue. And then you have markets that you can continue to expand into as a buyer. If we're operating in, let's say, King County, but I know that I can move it down to Pierce or even down to the Portland, Vancouver area, and I can point that to a prospective buyer, that gives them more confidence that it's worth their investment. In addition, you're thinking about where your business can go and the options that you can places you can take it as you go. But here's the secret to scaling, and this is where I think a lot of business owners get hung up. As I mentioned before, often as you're growing a company, we take on opportunities because they look good. Or we've had a few customers say, hey, I wish you would sell X, or I wish you would do Y, because that would be really great. And so our goods and services go from a few focused things to many things. And as you do that, as you can imagine, your focus gets spread across. The amount of people and systems that you need to build to maintain all of those things multiply, and your ability to do any one thing well gets diluted. And so if you are selling many things to a few customers, I would encourage you to think about, how can you sell fewer things to many customers? How can you find that thing that really gets you in a good product market fit scenario and continue to build excellent services, sales structure, and systems that can sell and deliver those things really well and easily take them into, let's say, another market. That makes it repeatable, it makes it teachable, and it makes it scalable. It's easier to bring people on and to sustain that over time. I just mentioned this word, I'm going to say it again: teachable, valuable, repeatable. As you're thinking about what is it that I sell and what are the services that I provide in the way that I do it, can I teach this? A lot of business owners get frustrated with their employees because they feel like they just can't do it as well as they can. And the reality is they probably can't. If you have 20 years, 30 years in the business, you have expertise and practice that most people coming into your business don't have, and they can't have at this point. So it's important to figure out what is the product that I sell and how do I make it simple enough so I can teach it to, say, a new hire. And they can pick it up relatively easily and run with it. If it takes your 20 years of expertise to run your business, you'll never be able to scale that. That's going to be far too difficult and complex. The second thing is this a valuable thing? Does this appeal to my best customers? We're not building products and systems for customers we really don't need. I see this a lot, honestly, in the financial systems or financial services world where we'll say a CPA spends a lot of time working with clients they really don't want. And that takes them off the ball of where they want to go. But that's just an example that's true of many other industries as well. You spend a lot of time doing the things that don't bring you value and don't reach your ideal clients. And that prevents you from actually scaling the valuable portion of your business, which is probably bringing in 80% of your profitability anyway. And then finally, repeatable. Is your business repeatable? Could what you do in King County be done in Pierce? Could it be done in Portland and Vancouver? Could it be done in Spokane? Could it be done in California? If it's repeatable, then you've got a scalable system. It's only repeatable if you can teach people and you can build systems to achieve that. So these three things are very important to think about as you figure out, how do I grow and scale my business? I'm going to use an example real quick. We're going to use photography because everybody understands photography. If I'm a photographer, there's a lot of ways I can structure and frame my business, and a lot of different goods and services that I can provide. I could do things like passport photos, prints, reprints. Those are pretty valuable. I can do weddings. Often those are valuable, but they're not very repeatable. I could do some automated stuff with online galleries in the digital space. But really, as I think about what is that sweet spot, I'm using that lens of what's teachable, repeatable, and valuable. Well, the reality is the school photos are valuable. Why? Because anybody could essentially be taught to take them within just a minimal amount of training. We can take them every year because every year grandma wants a new photo. And it is valuable because people pay for them every year. Similarly, but not quite, are things like family portrait packages or even newborn sessions. So finding your sweet spot in your particular line of business is going to be really important. So one of the things we'll do here in a minute is I will encourage you to think about your goods and services and what is your sweet spot for your particular business. We're going to use another example. I just talked about accounting. We're going to pick on accounting a little bit more. If you are an accountant or you own a financial services firm, there's a lot of things you can do. You can do very valuable stuff. You can do low value stuff. You can do things that can be repeated. You can do one time only work. But really what it comes down to it as an example is often in the financial services space, you have bookkeeping, you have tax prep, maybe you have some consulting, maybe there's just some ongoing services like accounts receivable, accounts payable. One option that a lot of accountant companies or firms will do is they'll create a back office support service, which means all of those things in and of themselves have a little bit of value. But if I bundle them, now I have a package that I can provide, I can repeat, and it has a tremendous amount of value because I've offered all of those services together. So I've created a solution set for my client. So as you think about your sweet spot, it may not be one thing, it could be a bundle of things that you offer, who in and of themselves might not be valuable, teachable, and repeatable, but when put together, you've got a new package that you can create and provide to them as well. So you want to be thinking about that as we go through this. Now, we're going to pause for a minute, and I'm going to ask you to think about this for your own business. How might you apply this? Um, Hopefully you have a pen or pencil. If not, grab one real quick. Think about the products and services that you provide. And maybe write down one, two, three, or four of these. And ask yourself, is it teachable? Is it valuable? And is it repeatable? So as you have your product and service, you're going to give your teachability a score. And that's going to be not at all as a 1 or extremely as a 5. If you do high-end consulting and it's hard to bring in people to do what you do because there's so much expertise, that's going to be closer to a 1. If you provide a product that's very simple and really anybody can do it with a little bit of training, that's going to be extremely, that's going to be a 5. Think about that for your product. Same for valuable. Does the market clearly want this? Are they willing to pay a premium for it? Do your ideal clients demonstrate that this is something that they want? 1 if it's not at all, 3 if it's moderately, and then 5 if yes, very much so, this is what they want. And then finally, repeatable. Can we deliver it consistently? Can we do it again and again? Is this something that we can offer every year or every month? Is this something that we can deliver not only in my hometown or my community, but I can take somewhere else and we can do it as well? So as reflecting on this, tally up your scores, and this will give you an idea when we go back to the last slide of quadrants, where your products and services land in each quadrant. I had a conversation with a number of business owners. We're sitting around a table not too long ago, and we did this exercise. And it was very clear as we were talking through, one of the business owners in the room said, this is amazing because I'm talking to my team right now. They're really pushing towards a new product line, and I'm unsure whether it's the right thing for us to do. So going through this exercise helped me understand if this is something that we should be investing in, because now I have a criteria, not only for myself as an owner, but I have a criteria for my employees to think about what are the opportunities we should be engaging in and how do we continue to improve our business so that not only are we selling the right things, but we're providing them in the right ways. So hopefully you've had some time to think about it. If not, I encourage you to sit down sometime in the next day or so and continue to work through this. We're going to talk now about hub and spoke. And now, as we mentioned ahead of time, you as a business owner are often the bottleneck in a company. Everything runs through you. Decisions run through you. Work runs through you. Sales runs through you. And that creates a issue when it comes for not only you being able to step out of the business and getting some margin or some work-life balance, but it also prevents your business from growing and makes it less attractive to a potential buyer, because a potential buyer does not want to be in that position that you find yourself in. So a couple things that you can think about. How do you remove yourself out of this phase of being the hub in a series of different spokes? Think about who could be your second in command. Who are those key men or key women in your company who can step up and take on those responsibilities on your behalf? If you don't know who those are, we'd love to talk with you about it, help you think through how that might come to fruition in your own business. You can move to your customer relationships to the brand or to the organization and not to you. Now, people often start with your expertise, your knowledge, and your relationships. Eventually, you want to move that into a relationship with the brand. Big corporations, this is what they do. Most people don't know the CEOs of their favorite brands. They do understand the brand, and whatever relationship they have is with that brand, not with the leadership that's involved. So think about how can you move people towards a relationship with your brand as opposed to you. And then thirdly, document playbook so others can run it. I'd add one more thing to this. It's not enough just to document. People say they have SOPs and they're good. SOPs that aren't practiced, SOPs that aren't adopted and aren't integrated into the culture of the business are not going to be successful. So document those playbooks, practice them out, ensure that people understand it, and make sure that the SOPs you have work in practical terms for the people in your business. Now, examples of low value business. If you are the owner and all the customers come to you, that is an issue. You are the hub to all your customers. You are the hub to your employees and even your suppliers. Know you by name. Again, if I'm a buyer coming in, you step away, those relationships will possibly step away as well. Your customers are going to go work with someone else. Your employees are going to go somewhere else, and your suppliers may not have the same relationship with me as the new buyer as it would otherwise. So creating a high value business pulls you out of this dynamic and puts those key men in those positions, which gives you not only more capacity to do other things and more freedom, but also makes it more attractive to a potential buyer. So I'm going to ask this next question here. How can you reduce owner dependency in your business? Let's talk about management for a second. What are you already doing to reduce the business being dependent on you? What's in place? I'm going to ask you another question. What can you do next quarter? The reason why we ask that is often when we look at where we want to go, we think about long-term vision. I want my business to be at X amount of revenue. I want it to be worth so much. And me personally, I want to have this kind of life. I want to be traveling the world or sitting on nonprofits that I can help and dive into, whatever that is for you. That might be your vision. So if that's your vision, what does that look like in the next 3 years? What does that look like in the next year? And ultimately, what's that going to look like in the next 90 days? So my question to you is, what are you doing already? And what is your next move in the next quarter? This is a great place to also reach out to us if you have questions on what this could possibly look like. We'd love to talk with you more about that. The second piece is structures for others to contribute ideas. If all of the ideas are yours, all of the action is yours, people don't feel like they have a voice in your business, they're not going to engage in it at the level that you're going to need them to for you to be able to step out. So you need to provide an opportunity for your employees to speak into the business, to affect change, to help improve that business, to help grow that business. So what mechanisms do you have in place with that? How do other employees, other people speak ideas into your business? Once they've spoken those ideas into existence, how are they weighed? How are they measured? How are they decided on what you're going to action? Now think about what could you do in the next 90 days that could help you move that along. Do you have a quarterly meeting? Do you have a monthly team meeting where people can bring ideas to the table? Annual planning where people can bring ideas to the table and you can think about that's the next move for us. Let's figure out how we're going to make that a reality. Again, if you want to talk with someone about that, we're happy. Huba and I are more than happy to sit down and talk with you about how to make that happen. We'll mention Oasis here in a little bit. It's some proprietary positive change in their business. Let's go to the last one, relationships. How do your clients feel supported by people that aren't you? How do they feel supported beyond you? What's in place? Do you have systems in place where people can get help or get answers or get answers they need without necessarily having to come to you? Can they impact their experience and their relationship with your business without having to come to you? And what can you do next quarter to move this along? In the next 90 days, what are some action steps that you can take to bring this about? You want to manage well, you want to figure out how to grow and innovate well, and you want to make sure that your customer and client relationships are very healthy. So those three things, if you can handle those, we're going to do a lot to help you move out of the day-to-day, out from being a bottleneck and into that chairperson role that we talked about earlier, and will make your business that much more valuable because anybody on the outside looking in as a potential investment is going to have confidence that this thing will continue to run as they take on ownership of it. Now, we've talked about what you can do for your business. It would be a mistake if we go about figuring out how do we take you out of your business, how do we grow your revenue and your profitability by focusing on the right goods and services without having a good sense of what you're trying to accomplish out of it. For you, it's probably building up the enterprise value that gives you options for stuff you want to do down the road. You might have investments outside of the business, and that's good. Maybe your business is going to help with those as you move on to the next chapter. Maybe it's part of a broader portfolio. It's important to manage those things together. What kind of legacy do you want for yourself, for your spouse, for your family, for your community? Are there things that you would like to do? A business that's valuable, that's sellable, puts you in a position to be able to do those things. Whether it's taking the funds out of a sale and into a family office or into a trust that they can do some philanthropic work with. Or it could be that you just have time back and then you could take the expertise of running a business for 30 years and apply that to maybe people in the community, maybe nonprofits, churches, or other organizations who could really value from your time and your wisdom because you don't have to spend that time in your business anymore. And then finally, what is your identity outside of your business? Who are you? One of the questions that often gets asked when we do exit planning is, are you a business owner or do you own a business? And while that seems like a pretty ridiculous question, it says a lot about how people see themselves. So what are your goals? Who are you at your core, even outside of the business world? It's important to think about because your business should help you align its growth, its value to what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Again, if you have questions about that, you want to talk with someone, we're happy to sit down with you and discuss those things with you as well. I'm going to ask you one more question here. The thing about hub and spoke. What have you done in the last year to make your business less dependent on you personally? And you might be thinking, man, I haven't done anything. Then I would encourage you to consider what you can do today, which is the next question. Maybe you've started this down this road. Maybe you've hired some people. Maybe you've hired somebody that's responsible for sales or someone who's responsible for the back office, and you're starting to pull yourself out. Or maybe you have tried to do things that will make the business less dependent on you, but you just haven't gotten there. You haven't been able to get the momentum going to fully pull you out of the business. What could you do in the next year, in the next 90 days to make that differently, make that happen? If there's only one thing you can do today, what is that? Let's start small. What's the one thing you can do today? And here's the question that's probably the hardest. What will you delegate or systematize in the next 90 days? Is there somebody on your team who can do what you do? Maybe with a little bit of training, maybe with a little bit of overlap or handoff, but they can take on some of the responsibilities you see. Or even further, maybe there's things that you do that you can systematize. You don't need somebody to take it on. You just need to figure out how to automate it or create good systems. Again, if you can't think about how that could work, we'd love to sit down and talk with you. Our teams can help businesses accomplish those. You don't always have to hand it off to someone. It can often be automated through other means. The goal is not to add more headcount for the sake of adding headcount. We can actually help you become more efficient as you begin to pull yourself out of the business. Finally, I want you to think about these things. If you haven't yet, think about key person insurance. What happens if something happens to you? I've had many conversations with business owners that are getting older, not ready to sell yet, but they do realize something could happen and they need to be ready. Do you have disability and business overhead? Do you have operations that can run if you are disabled? It's not always when you're ready to sell or move on. Sometimes life happens and things happen, and your business should and could continue to move on, even if something were to incapacitate you for a little while. Do you have good buy-sell agreements if you have partners? Do you have plans in place should you need them? Do you have contingency planning? This could be anything from having playbooks, having redundancy in your banking. I work with family businesses sometimes, and often what they're talking about is who's next up should something happen. Who are we preparing to step into roles? Even if it's not time to transition fully, we have some buffer and some redundancy that it will make it okay so that we can keep this family business moving. I would encourage you to think about those if you haven't had the chance to do so just yet. And then finally, we want to continue to get that score. We'll move on to this one. Think about the organizational stage that your business is in. And if you don't know what that is, take this free assessment and you'll get results. And if you want to talk with somebody about that, we are happy to do so as well. Finally, as Huba talked about, when we partner with One Accord, we focus on building operating systems. This allows us to grow and scale your business in a way that not only just gets you to where you want to go, but aligns your employees, your systems to achieve that goal together. And so we have 9 core competencies to help you deliver on your unique value proposition, build those differentiators to get that moat or that monopoly that you're looking for, and then make sure that you hit your strategic priorities. A lot of people get stuck. Cuba.
Yeah, Joel, there's a question online, and the audience is asking us if we are certified exit planners and if we utilize the VAM, the value acceleration methodology that the EP and the Exit Planning Institute teaches. So I think that this is the right time to address that.
Yeah.
So the answer for that is basically we don't. We don't. It's one of the things that we do is try to stay away from trademarked methodologies, mainly because it does not allow you in many cases to be flexible with the client and really give them what they need at a given moment. So actually Oasis is open source, and we many times we adjust it after we try to implement it or we start implementing it for the first a couple of quarters. We make changes to it, we tweak it a little bit so that it fits better for the company's culture, their operation, the leadership style, and all those different things. um, in my personal opinion, we can this is debatable. The value acceleration methodology is basically stops short in the sense that it creates a very thorough plan on how to reach that point and how to achieve those personal and financial goals, but it sends you home with a diagnostic and a prescription slip. So what we do is actually handhold the business owner throughout the transformation process to make sure that it happens. We actually many times have to hold the leaders accountable to what they are doing and call them out on the things that are not happening, right? So it's part of it. We could work fabulously together actually with someone who does something like VAM, because they can diagnose, drum up the prescription, but then through Oasis we basically make it sure that it happen. I call Oasis a relentless execution engine. And as you guys probably know, many strategies just fall apart at the execution piece. So that was a long answer. I hope it addressed the question. There's a couple more questions here, and I'll let you address these, Joel. So please describe how you work with small businesses, especially single owner businesses, to scale. And what is our fee structure? That's what they are asking.
Good question. So I'm just going to piggyback off what you said, and then I'll answer that question. When it comes to Exit Planning Institute and SEPA, no, we are not very familiar, though, with those methodologies. And as Huba said, we incorporate that into our plan. One Accord has 25 years of selling businesses, helping businesses sell, getting them ready to sell, helping them with exit, helping them with transition. And so while we don't have the demarcation of being a SEPA, we definitely have over 2 decades of that work in our back pocket that we can draw from. How do we work with small owners? It's interesting. We do have a number of seminars and methods. So a little bit of how One Accord works. Often we work with larger businesses that have management structures and several layers to it. When it comes to those smaller businesses, we have ways that we can engage with them. I would say Huba just hosted an event not too long ago, value accelerator workshop. Maybe that's not the right name, Huba. Excuse me if I got that wrong. But ways that they can engage. That being said, this system that we're talking about can be applied to small businesses. And I do that from time to time where basically helping them think about what is your strategy, how do you align your goals, how do you align your team. Maybe your team has 2 or 3 people in it. You could still take the methodology and apply it to your business. It's just going to look a little different at that level than, let's say, something that is 20 million, 50 million, 100 million in revenue. Same things apply. The way we engage them is going to be a little bit different. You mentioned fee structure. Before we get into any engagement, we want to get to know the business. We want to get to know the business owner. We don't want to assume that we have a one size fits all solution. That's what Huba mentioned. That's a little bit of different. We are going to tailor your engagement with what your needs are and what your goals are. And so we're going to do some initial discovery. And then from that, we're going to come up with a plan that we'll propose to the business owner. If it checks out, if it works, maybe it's a little bit of back and forth to get it nailed down just right. And then we will execute on that plan. So the fee structure is going to be based upon the needs of the business owner and not necessarily a prescription that we can apply.
Yeah. Yeah. Our preference though is we try to spread this out and make it easy for the business owner to commit to it, right? So and we know also that it's transformation processes take some time. So minimum amount of time that we say is 12 to 18 months to really get uh, results that are permanent. Let's put it that way. We see results in the first 90 days. The next 90 days, when you get to the 6 month mark, are about more about really understanding the system, really starts to do things the way they should be done. And then, give it another 6 months to let them cement and be consistent in execution. So at that point, the business is operating under a system that it's their own. Because it's a long-term thing, we prefer a monthly subscription plan. We spread it out throughout the whole year. The we do have, so there's another question, how can someone like a tax mitigation, tax planning person work with us? We are constantly looking for good referral partners, back and forth, right? It's we engage with small businesses and they have needs like that. But also one of the things that we know is that for many wealthy individuals, probably one of their biggest assets is their business. When you think about it, it's very hard for someone to have a home that is worth $20 million or $50 million. But a business is not that uncommon to see, for a business owner. So it's one of their largest assets, and what happens with that asset eventually is a major thing to address. The flip side of this is that once we are done with Oasis, or once that Oasis is operating at full capacity inside the company also performs better. So one of the things that I like to say is that every single valuation formula that you see out there is going to be a hard number times a multiplier. Oasis affects the multiplier, right? Because it reduces owner dependence, it creates better structures, it creates documentable processes, et cetera, et cetera. But it also makes the company perform better so that the hard number, the revenue number that is being used in that formula with the multiplier also increases in most of the times. And the nice thing about that is that's what keeps the business running. That's the here and now for the business. So with that, I'll send it back to you, Joel.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at some of these other questions. Um, Smallest business size that you work with, our one quarter our ideal client profile is sitting around 20 million plus. We do work with smaller ones than that from time to time because it is definitely, especially in the Oasis side. I think the nice thing about Oasis is it gives us extensibility and the ability to work with kind of smaller revenue companies, smaller companies in general. And it's also, it is something we can apply into that, but typically we're looking around 20 million or more. It deals with some layers of complexity, like I said, building, taking the owner out of the business, building up that infrastructure, having capacity to do that can be helpful. Now, these systems, these principles can be applied to smaller businesses, like I said, and if you have questions about that, happy to sit down and talk with you. But typically we're working with anywhere from 20 million or more.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
we go lower than that, but yeah, revenue,
Yeah, in
revenue,
revenue. Yeah. Yep.
revenue. We look at revenue.
Yep. Yeah.
Oasis is it stands for One Accord System, right? So that's the acronym for.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's as mentioned, it's open source. It gathers information from there's about 42 different business operating system or turnkey business operating system frameworks out there in the market. Some of them better than others, some of them leaning towards one side or the other. This is a customized one where we gathered, pretty much we read all the books, right? And we brought together kind of like a best of breed of everything. And this is the first time that I see an operating system or a business operating system that brings together things that I see others lack, like a deep strategy conversation. That's one super important thing in Oasis. The second piece is that we do look at financials while we are not CFOs. Okay. We prefer that the client actually gets that somewhere else. We don't have fractional CFOs at One Accord. And the third piece is that we look at culture um, uh, for ongoing and permanent growth of a company and success. Culture is super important because it what drives decisions when the boss is not in the room. So we need that definitely. So that's another piece that we look into very strongly.
Yeah. I'll just add, here's an example of some software. We have software that we can help in aiding in building out an Oasis operating system. Now, we are not necessarily a particular or dependent on a particular piece of software or a particular way of doing it. As Huba said, we have one of the things I think that separates us from a lot of other people is we don't have one way of doing it. We can really come alongside the business. So whether you are a business with one office or a business with several offices across multiple states and more complex systems, that's something that we can work with as well. And so where we need to augment with systems, we can help do that. Where we can then leverage what is currently in place and use it to help them build this business operating system to align strategy with people, with systems, et cetera, KPIs. We can do that as well. We have the capacity within our team to do so. So we're not limited to one way of doing it. One of the pieces of feedback I get sometimes when people are thinking about business operating systems is it's either their way or the highway, and their way doesn't meet my needs. We're not stuck or beholden to that at all. We can really make it work for any particular business in any industry.
That's right. Joel, with that, I
Yep.
think this is a good place to end. And I don't know if the audience has any more questions, but once again, super thankful for you guys being here. We're gonna follow up with you offline and sign up for the next one. It's actually let me space that over here. It's
Yeah.
hang on just one second.
Yeah.
So we have two more coming up, and then an in-person event in Florida that we are promoting. But here are the links to the other ones if you're
Yeah.
interested. All right. So, but with that, once again, thank you so much. And we'll see you at the next one. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you all.